Welcome to the Anxiety Relief Summit, where you will find holistic and practical solutions you can start taking today to break free from the worry spirals, regain your peace of mind, and confidence to take action on the things that matter most. Hi, I'm your summit host, Laura Leavitt, and the information provided in this summit is not a substitute for counseling or medical advice. The information presented here is meant to inspire and educate listeners, but are not guarantees of any kind. I'm so glad you're here, and let's get started. Welcome, everybody. So happy you joined us today. Our guest today is Carol Richards. Welcome, Carol.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Glad you're here. I'm going to just tell our listeners a little bit about you, all right?
Okay.
So Carol Richards is a sleep coach, an emotional success coach, and a master conscious EFT practitioner. She helps sleep-deprived individuals get the one thing holding them back from thriving in life: consistent, refreshing, deep sleep without the need for medication or complicated bedtime rituals. Carol lives in the beautiful PEI, Eastern Canada, with her husband. They're empty nesters, and she's really enjoying that. And as a sleep coach, she's revealed that she chooses to sleep in another room because of her husband's snoring. That's how much she values sleep, even though she loves him dearly. Yeah. She loves being outside, going for walks, being close to the beach. So again, welcome, Carol. So happy for you to be here.
Yes, it's great to be here. And yes, I always put that joke in there because so many people say, what do I do with my snoring husband? I'm like, get separate bedrooms. Like, you can't put a pillow over his head. So whatever it takes for you to get that sleep, because your relationship will be so much better because of it.
Yes. Yeah. So what made you go on this journey and land up here as a sleep coach?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting journey because a lot of people don't realize that I myself struggled with sleep very bad. I'll always remember today, like it's etched in my memory, April 10th, 2017. I walked into my doctor's office and I'm like, I can't feel my feet, I can't feel my hands. And she was like, Carol, I'd be telling you, you're having stress and anxiety. And you keep working and you've stopped sleeping and your body just can't handle it anymore. And so that was the day that I realized, okay, I need to do something different, because working the job I was working and there's other things, I was exhausted and burning out, but I kept going because that's what we do, right? We're moms, we're workers, we just do everything. And that day I was like, okay, so I stopped working for 5 months. And I discovered tapping in those 5 months because I don't think I had fallen asleep on my own in over 2 years. I had to go on sleeping pills. I had made that decision because I didn't know how else to get sleep, right? Because even if you Google, all you get is like, go to bed earlier or wear blue light blocking glasses or, stop caffeine before noon, but nothing showed me how to de-stress and how to regulate my nervous system. So once I was off work and I started looking and I came across the Hortners and the tapping summit and started tapping, it took about 3 weeks for me to fall asleep on my own on the couch in the afternoon. And I remember waking up and like, oh my God, I fell asleep. I don't know, for people who are struggling with sleep, you'll get this. Like when you haven't fallen asleep for like 2 years without the help of a sleeping pill, to wake up on my own was like the most amazing feeling ever. And in that moment, what I know now is I switched a belief in my mind, because my belief before was that my brain is broken and I can't sleep anymore. There's no off switch to my brain. I kept saying that there's no off switch to my brain. I can't stop thinking. And that was all the stress and the anxiety and the hyped up nervous system that was doing that. But the minute I fell asleep on the couch, the new belief got created. It's like, I can do this. I can fix myself. And that was with tapping. And so that's when I started the journey of getting certified as an EFT practitioner, reading every sleep book out there, understanding what was happening. Because while I wasn't working, I was having panic attacks too, because that's what happens to a nervous system that is overworked. Like you end up having panic and anxiety. And within 2 weeks, my panic attacks were gone with tapping. So from there, like I haven't stopped, like it's my mission. Like, how can I help more people understand what it takes to fix our sleep and that it's possible for every single person?
That's super.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, not having good sleep just heightens everything. For me, my anxiety really peaked during COVID.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, I think. And that's when people started to realize, hey, I'm not sleeping well and my health is at risk, and relationships and everything else. All of that just compiles, especially if you're not sleeping well.
Yeah. I would say that, like I always talk about the 3 pillars you should have: your sleep, your nutrition, and exercise. Well, sleep needs to be at the top of that, right? Like, I'm biased. Yes, I love sleep, but without sleep, you're going to end up eating just because you're so tired, and you're not going to exercise properly, and you can't take care of yourself without sleep. So, and I think COVID, you're right. COVID really, with the stay-at-home order, with everything, it caused so much anxiety to so many people, and it really turned people's life upside down. So a lot of people stopped sleeping due to COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how does that sleep pattern and that lack of sleep pattern affect our nervous system and really, make it worse? What's
Yeah.
going on in the brain?
Yeah. So I love talking about the nervous system. I knew nothing about the nervous system 10 years ago. And today, like, I talk nervous system every day, because when we're not sleeping, like, the number one reason people aren't sleeping is nervous system dysregulation. Yes, some people have pain. Yes, sometimes we have too much caffeine in our brain. Yes, there's other reasons. But 90% of the people is because their nervous system is dysregulated. So I don't know how much nervous system talk has been on this summit yet, but just to say there's 3 states. Like, we have that social engagement, rest and digest, where we're feeling good, we're feeling in the flow, we fall asleep easily. Like, that's the good state, right? We want to be in there as much as we can, but the reality is we're human and we go into fight or flight a lot. And it's normal to go into fight or flight, because if I'm going for a run, I need to go into fight or flight to bring that energy, that heart rate up. If I'm being cut off as I'm driving to work and a car cuts me off, I need to go in fight or flight so I can maneuver that and not have an accident. It's a very good state to be in. But what happens to us, though, is we get cut off by a car, we go into fight or flight, and then we get to work, and then we have 100 emails to answer, and then we go more into the anxiety portion of the fight or flight, and then we have more demands on us, and our nervous system never has a chance to come out of that fight or flight. It doesn't do the anxiety down, anxiety down. It does anxiety, 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 and we hit a point where our system can't take it anymore, and then it goes into functional freeze. And so the freeze state is really like the shutdown, dissociation with, like, the stress. We no longer feel the stress because our nervous system has just shut down. But what a lot of people don't understand is that underneath the shutdown, I like this motion. So I've got all this fight or flight energy, and then I come with the freeze and I shove it down. But I'm trying to go to sleep now. I get to bed and I have time to think. I have time my brain no longer has all these things to keep me busy, and the freeze wants to lift. And what comes up is all that sympathetic energy, all that fight or flight that wants to be released, because we haven't released it all day. And so it's very important for people to understand that, when I say uncomplicated bedtime rituals, it's not about taking a melatonin. It's not about putting your social media away an hour before bed. Yes, that helps. All those things help. Wearing the blue light blocking glasses. I made a joke one day with a client because he was wearing them, and I'm like, but your issue is all the stress. How is wearing the glasses going to diminish your stress? Right? So how do we then acknowledge or come to the understanding that we're not sleeping because our nervous system just got jacked up, because we haven't taken the time to deactivate it? And that's where tapping comes in. Tapping is really good to help us deactivate the nervous system. And I'll go right into my next step here because it feels like it's appropriate. What I always say to people, when you want to fix your sleep, there's 3 components you have to look at. You have to look at your emotional well-being, which is what we're talking about right now. You've got to look at your mindset, because if your mindset is like mine, my brain is broken, there's no off switch, then that's what I'm going to repeat in my life. That's what I'm going to manifest, is what our beliefs are, we manifest. And then there's our behaviors. And so we really have to look at all three components, but you can't do the behavior and not address the emotional well-being of the nervous system, because the behaviors won't stick.
You're
You
right.
do have to look at them, but they won't stick if you're not going to address the nervous system first. And your mindset also won't stick, the mindset change, if you don't address the emotional well-being. And so that's been kind of my approach of like, let's look at all three, but let's first look at the nervous system to see where your nervous system is for you.
I think that's so important. And knowing that order, and that dealing with the emotional issues is top priority, is pretty important, because I have anxiety. And when you have anxiety, you like to be busy. And so you're doing all these little extra activities. And so you have this little list of things you're supposed to do in order to get to sleep. And it feels better. It feels like you're doing something. So to stop and pause and say, no, put that all away for a minute. Let's look at the mind.
Let's regulate the nervous system. Yeah. And what happens though, what I see a lot with people who aren't sleeping is, like identity belief, good sleeper, poor sleeper. I have one of these videos on my YouTube channel that people can go check out if they want more in depth on this. But, do you identify as a good sleeper or poor sleeper? And when you identify as a poor sleeper, I'll go the other way first. When you ask someone who's a good sleeper what they do to go to sleep, the answer they'll give you is like, what? Like, I go to bed. They're like, what do you mean? What do I do to go to sleep? Like, that boggles their mind that you would have to do something to go to sleep, because they know and they trust that their body is going to go to sleep. Now, if you've struggled with sleep for whatever reason that you struggled with sleep, you ask someone, what do you do to go to sleep? Oh my God, you can have a list this long of what they have to do. And the minute they miss something on that list, the anxiety ramps up. Because, oh my God, I didn't take my melatonin tonight. Oh my God, I'm out of melatonin. Oh my God, I watched TV too late. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep. Like, those are things that are causing more anxiety, more stress. So the harder you try to go to sleep, the less you're going to sleep.
It's so true. It's so true. And, sleep, there's so many things that people need to do actually to get into bed. I find myself getting up like 3 or 4 times, one more time to the bathroom, one more time because I forgot my mouth guard. The husband sleeps next to me with his sleep apnea machine on that's noisy. You're right. There is a lot of rituals, but if we make a big deal out of them,
exactly,
it can take over and add to the stress for sure.
Right. It's when you're struggling with sleep and you make the rituals, the only way you can fall asleep is when it's an issue. There's nothing wrong with having the rituals if they're not what makes you fall asleep, if you can trust that your body's going to go to sleep, because we are biologically wired for sleep. It's one of our primal needs. We are going to fall asleep. A lot of people will say, oh, I haven't slept for days. And I would question that, because they might be falling asleep and not even realizing they're sleeping. Because you don't know when you're sleeping. Like, how do you know you've had a good sleep? Because you wake up and you don't remember it.
Yes.
Right? And so people don't talk about the good sleep. They only talk about the bad sleep, because we remember those ones, and our brain is wired for that negativity bias, and it just remembers every moment of that bad sleep. And so if we can use tapping on that frustration, on that anxiety that shows up, that really then allows the body to do what it's meant to do, which is to fall asleep on its own.
Yeah. So besides the talking about, am I a good sleeper, or am I a bad sleeper? I never sleep. You don't want to have that stick and be your identity. So you want to quit talking about that, right?
Well,
and
you should.
sharing with each other about, well, how do you sleep? And, oh, I was up at 2. And like, you don't want to keep that talk alive all the time.
No, because then you're just feeding that negative stuff. Now, mind you, I always say to people, there's a time in your day that you should deal with it. Maybe not talk about it, but deal with it. Because if you're holding on to that frustration because you didn't sleep well, you've got to deal with the frustration. but you set a time to do your tapping practice or your meditation or your walking, and you just kind of let it out as you're walking. You don't complain with every single person you see that you haven't slept, but we tend to do that when we're tired because it's our reality, it's our focus, is so true for us. And so no, it's better not to, but to actually go get support to help you deal with the anxiety and the stress that you're not sleeping, or what the root cause is. Because let's talk about that. For a lot of people, it's a dysregulated nervous system, but at what point do we dig deeper to see what the actual root cause is? Because I'm not a mental health professional. I come at this as a sleep coach and as a EFT practitioner. And yet I know enough to know that there's a lot of people that carry a lot of trauma. And that is what's keeping them awake. And depending on what that is, I can help them. But sometimes we have to seek other help depending on what that is. And people that haven't slept since childhood, think about that, right? So you were a kid that had a hard time sleeping, and it's 20 years later, you're still having a hard time sleeping. I've had those clients where the reason their bedroom felt unsafe was because at night they used to hear their parents fighting before the divorce. And so their nervous system got programmed at a young age that when I go to sleep, that's where I hear bad things. And then they're 30 years later and they're still feeling that uncomfortable feeling about the bedroom. And so tapping can really help reset the nervous system to let them know that the bedroom is actually a safe place to go to sleep, to relax. And I don't have to worry now as an adult that my parents are yelling at each other. So that's just kind of an example of how it can come from so far away.
That's beautiful. I like that. Because yes, we want to have our home be a safe place, but we also want that bedroom to be a place where we feel like we can sleep and relax and know that everything's safe. And thank you for touching on the part about reaching out for further help if people need it, because we're going to have a lot of variety of people at different levels of anxiety. Some might have the garden variety kind of anxiety here on this summit listening that might do really well with some of these techniques and some meditation and some sleep tips, but other people are, diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and are having a real trouble. And so we want to be a good resource, but we also want to direct them, maybe even refer them if they come to us for further help if they need it.
Exactly. And so if somebody is struggling with sleep and they want to talk to me, like they can book an optimal sleep assessment. It's free. I'll give you 20 minutes of my time. And I always assess the person that's contacted me. I need to know why they're not sleeping. And I've gotten pretty good at picking up on what I know I can help with or guide them through and what needs further help. And I have several mental health professionals on my list that I refer to. And then my mentor, if I don't have someone that I know, for example, if someone had sexual trauma, I would refer them to Jules Vandermaat, I think that's how you pronounce her last name, in Australia, because she has experience with that. I wouldn't work with that, even though that's keeping them awake, right? So it's whatever's underneath there, and it's so okay to ask for support for ourselves, and we need it. So yeah.
Lovely.
Totally.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about, we're going to get into some tapping. I can feel it.
Yeah, we are.
But tell us a little bit before we jump into any of that. What other things have you found really helpful before we get into the tapping that's worked for you?
Right. So what other things have been really helpful? So I'm going to talk about the three components really quickly, because so on the emotional well-being, what has been really helpful for me has been to regulate my nervous system. So tapping is a big part of my practice. I also have a somatic practitioner that I work with to really get to a deeper level that I can't do on my own, she's been wonderful. And I also find on the emotional well-being is to take the time to meditate, to sit, to have that quiet time, to walk the beach, because that's all emotional and being in nature. On the mindset part, what's been really helpful is now I have a coach that helps me deal with mindset issues. Like I don't recognize sometimes that I don't feel good enough for something. we don't recognize our own stuff. And so having someone guide me through some tapping as my coach has been very helpful for me to uncover the mindset issues. But I also listen to a lot of books on self-help and understanding the mind. And I think once we start to understand the role of the amygdala and how the prefrontal cortex works and how triggers happen in our body, and like, you know, when you're getting information coming in through all senses, on a physical or energetic level that reaches the amygdala, if there's a trigger in there for you, you ain't going to reach the front part of the brain that's going to make you make sense of that. So having someone guide me through what I'm recognizing as triggers helps me understand more of what stops me from sleeping. And so another thing with mindset is when I have a hard time, I write on it and what was happening in my day. But I think a bigger part was my behaviors. Even though we have to deal with that, then behaviors become really important, because I love coffee. I don't know anybody else that loves coffee, but if I have a coffee after 12, I ain't going to sleep. It's just not going to happen because I'm sensitive to caffeine. Now, some people can have a coffee at 8 p.m. at night and go to bed at 9 and it won't bother them because they don't have that caffeine sensitivity. But if you do, I have to stop at noon. If I'm having a coffee in the afternoon with a friend because I decided to go to a coffee shop, no amount of tapping will help me will put me to sleep. Like it's in my brain. So I just know that that's going to be a harder night, and it's a conscious choice that I've made to have that coffee. The other thing that's really important for people to know is consistency. Because if you train your body to go to bed and wake up at the same time each day, you set your body clock. You set when your melatonin is going to start getting out in your brain, because your melatonin produces naturally, but it needs a cue. And that cue is after so many hours awake. And so consistency is probably the biggest thing that has helped me have the quality sleep I have today. And a lot of people have a hard time on weekends saying, but I want to stay up. I don't want to miss out. Well, not missing out is a mindset issue. That brings out the anxiety, which is an emotional well-being issue. But once you get in that schedule, you don't miss out because you get to enjoy other things you can't enjoy by staying up late, that you're missing out on other things. So when the mindset changes it, but the behaviors for me has been big of being consistent. Go to bed at the same, even on weekends. Like I might stay up till 10 on the weekend, but 9 o'clock is my bedtime. Wake up at 5, maybe 6 a.m. on the weekend, but I'm on the beach by like 6 sometimes, you know, like, because you got to get the sunlight in you. You've got to do what it takes to have that good sleep. So that's kind of an overview of how you can look at the 3 components and see what will work for you. And yeah, we're going to do some tapping because I feel like orienting to the bedroom. So I don't know if this is a good place to talk about the free gift that I'm offering with this summit.
Sure, add that in.
But I created 3 tapping meditations that I will offer as a free gift to everyone. The links will all be below here. And pretty much there's 3 times of the day that I think are crucial to work on our sleep issues. First thing when you wake up in the morning, setting up our day to start on the right foot will make it that we'll sleep good at night. You know, good sleep starts the moment you wake up.
That's interesting.
Right?
Yes.
It does, because if you're staying in bed too late, if you're waking up on the wrong foot and you're not taking care of yourself, then that's going to transfer to you at night. And so that's the first thing, is setting up yours. That's the first meditation people will get. The second meditation, which is the one I'd like to do with you today, it's going to be different because I'm just going to make it up as we go, but it's orienting to our bedroom. Because for a lot of people, our bedroom is not a safe place. And I'm talking about like emotional safety, because if it's not a physical safety, then that's a bigger issue than what we can talk about here. If your bedroom is not a physical safe place, then please reach out for help with anybody. But if you're just not feeling safe in your bedroom, because an example of like that, a client that happened when she was a child, or because you've had so many sleepless nights, now your brain is picking up that it doesn't want to sleep in that bedroom because it knows it will wake up again. So orienting to our bedroom really allows us then to feel more comfortable, more relaxed, And so that's the second meditation to help people do that. And the third one is tapping in the middle of the night when you wake up. Boys, when we are not sleeping and we're frustrating, what do we do? How do we tap? And it's a technique I call holding the truth. And it's just guiding you through a process that you can start putting your own truth of what you're feeling in the moment about not sleeping. And we're not going into all the truth of our whole life there. We're just in that moment. And, a few F words can come out there because it's okay. That's if that's the frustration you're feeling, right? It's really, and some people will say, well, I don't want to get into big tapping, Carol, in the middle of the night. Oh, I agree. I wouldn't go tapping on something that happened 10 years ago. But if I'm feeling this anger that I'm not sleeping or this frustration, I need to do something about it in this moment so I can get back to sleep, because shoving it down won't help me. So sometimes I say tapping for 20 minutes is better than tossing around for 3 hours.
Yes.
And so that's the third meditation that they'll get with this gift. So hopefully.
I love that. So yeah, so you're not just, I can see with this that you're not just calming the nervous system down so you can sleep better and setting a feeling for safety in the bedroom. You're setting yourself up for success right from the morning when you start tapping, because you're planning and preparing for each of those steps in your day right up to bedtime going well. This is awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's do some tapping, because I know a lot of people like to tap. So, the way there's so many ways to tap, right? Like everybody's kind of have a different technique. One of the ways that I like to do, and I guide people on my YouTube channel as well with some of the tapping, is for people to really tune into themselves and just kind of think. And the image I want you to pop up is walking into your bedroom right now. So just thinking of walking into your bedroom, what is happening to you? And so if you can just let me know, Laura, what's that for you right now in the moment, just as you think? Is it a tight chest? Is it an emotion? Is it a visual or an image of something? Like, what happens just thinking about walking in the bedroom?
You want the truth?
Yeah, if you want to give it.
My bed is always made neat, but there's always piles of clothes all around the edge, my husband's and mine, and on the chair and the floor. My first response when I walk in is, I've got to tidy this up before I can get into bed.
Right, I've got to tidy this up. So already you're having a chore before you get to bed.
Yeah.
So thinking of tidying up that clothes before bed, what's the emotion that comes up with that?
I have to have order in order to fall asleep.
Okay.
I have to prepare to fall asleep. Those are my things. It's like 5 more things have to be done before I can fall asleep.
Yeah. Any intensity in your system as you say that? So we're looking for an intensity, just a number 0 to a 10.
I would say maybe a 4.
A 4. Okay. So let's do a round of tapping. You can change my words, and people that are tapping along here, change the words to suit you. What is that sentence or image as you walk into your bedroom? All right. So even though, yeah, I have to prepare to go to sleep.
I have to prepare to go to sleep.
Yeah. And I have to put order in this room.
And I have to put order in this room.
I have to tidy up all this clothes on the floor.
I have to tidy up all these clothes on the floor.
Yeah. I deeply and completely accept who I am.
I deeply and completely accept who I am.
And even though just walking into my bedroom, I see all this clothes around the bed and on the floor and on the chair.
And I see all these clothes on the floor, on the chair, and on the bed.
Yeah, it's causing some anxiety or some stimulation in my nervous system.
It's causing some anxiety and stimulation in my nervous system.
Right here, right now, I'm okay.
Right here, right now, I'm okay.
And even though
I
have to tidy up that clothes before I can go to bed.
I have to tidy up those clothes before I can go to bed.
I acknowledge that it's one of my tasks before bed.
I acknowledge that it's one of my tasks before I can go to bed.
And now let's go through the points, right? All this clothes on the bed.
All these clothes on the bed.
Yeah, I just have to have order before I can go to bed.
I just have to have order before I can go to bed.
Yeah, and I have all these clothes on my bed and on my chair and on the floor.
All these clothes on the floor, on the chair, and on my bed.
Yeah, it's getting in the way of my good sleep.
It's getting in the way of my good sleep.
Yeah. And then I'm going to ask the question, what could I do about that?
What could I do about that? Is it okay for me to let it go?
Is it okay for me to let it go?
Can I do a little?
And I do a little. Yeah. What would be the best solution for me?
Stack it neatly.
Stack it neatly. And when would I stack it neatly?
Stack it neatly and go to bed easily and do the rest in the morning.
Right. Yeah, I could just stack it easily. Worry about it in the morning.
Worry about it in the morning.
I can still get in my bed.
I can still get in my bed.
I have a nicely made bed.
I have a nicely made bed.
Now we're just going to switch our focus. I want you to look at the bedroom. I'll just keep tapping as we kind of talk through this because it's always sending that calming signal to the amygdala. So tap any chance you got. Just looking at your bedroom now. I want you to like go back and have that visual. See the clothes on the bed. What is the intensity? You were at about a 4. When you look at your bedroom now, what are you noticing?
The nicely made bed is still the center. It's still calling me.
It's calling me. And that's where we want to focus on good things now about the bedroom. Right? So looking at that nicely made bed, what is good about it? What pulls your attention?
I really like my covers and my pillows there, like a cloud.
You imagine your body laying on that cloud. What does that feel like?
Feels awesome.
Feels awesome. What would be the emotion as you picture yourself laying on that cloud that is your bed?
It feels so good.
It feels so good.
Peaceful.
Peaceful. Can you feel that in your body?
Yeah.
Is there a specific sensation or a specific location in your body that you can feel that peaceful?
I sense it right away in my shoulders.
Your shoulders.
Yeah. And my breathing's definitely slowed down.
Breathing is slowed down. Main focus of the bedroom is now the comfy bed. And so one last question. How could you contribute to your own success of falling asleep quicker with your bedroom? Or faster or easier?
I do go in and out of my room quite a few times in the day. I could pick up those clothes before I'm actually ready to jump into bed, because that way it's not left till that last minute.
Yeah. And then we would keep tapping if we were like in a session, and we would reinforce that behavior. And then we would really actually get you to create a solid plan about that, and maybe set in some accountability where you would text me and say, hey, all my clothes is picked up and it's only noon, or right?
It's working.
So it's working. And then can you imagine walking into your bedroom to go to bed? What would be the difference?
Well, instead of walking in, seeing things I need to do, I'd walk in and just be like, bed.
And that in itself calms down the nervous system, and allows you to stay in that social engagement, rest, and digest state that will allow sleep to come, as opposed to jacking up your nervous system into this fight or flight. Oh, I got to clean this up. Oh, I got to do this. That then wakes you up, right? And so sometimes it's not about big changes, right?
Yeah, I like that. And making it a habit until you really see a difference is important, and that consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tapping through all the resistance that will show up in making it a habit. Because there will be some. It's just, we're human. We will have resistance. It's just the way it is. And then we have the wonderful tool of tapping, though, to help us get over the resistance, because there's always a reason why we don't want to pick up our clothes, right? Maybe we were told as a kid that we had to pick up all our clothes, and we're just rebelling as an adult saying we don't have to. Right? Who knows?
Yes. I find for me with the anxiety, it's because I'm doing too many things at once. And so it's, if you're trying to do 20 things, things kind of get half done.
Yeah.
So it's more just distraction and busyness.
Yeah. And then, then we could work on that. So that's it for my tapping round. And that's how I like to guide people. I'm not big on creating a lot of tapping scripts that get people to repeat after me without them first tuning into what they're feeling. Because I really want people to learn how to be able to read their own nervous system. That's really important, that we all have that skill. It's just sometimes we don't practice it, so we don't know what we're actually feeling. So hopefully that was useful for people.
I think it's really useful, because for a lot of people, when they first are new to tapping, they don't quite know what to say and think they have to have the script and say certain things. But you're right. If you're just tapping and tuning into, what would I do? What would that feel like? That's really, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
awesome. So Jan or Carol, where do people mostly find you? You said you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so my website is called sleepsuccessacademy.com. So people can go there, and then they can book an optimal sleep assessment with me there. But I also have a YouTube channel, so it's just Carol Richards Sleep Coach. I don't know why, but about a year and a half ago, I decided that I wanted to share stuff on YouTube. Loving creating a video each week. It's whatever pops into my mind. I find that I want people to know that they are capable of good sleep. But in my last week's video, I said, but we don't have a sleep-friendly society. We don't live in a sleep-friendly society. And how can we choose for ourselves good sleep? So a lot of my YouTube videos are there. People can go, it's easy, Carol Richard, Sleep Coach. I have a Facebook page and a Facebook group and an Instagram just to kind of share stuff, but it's a lot, like the two best places, my website and YouTube.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you did mention your free gift for our listeners. So just touch on them one more time, because there was 3 tapping scripts there.
So
they're gonna love.
Yeah, so they're going to be 3 tapping scripts. So what will happen is they'll be able to read what they're about on the page on the web page that will show up, and it's really about focusing on the 3 times that I see are important to start doing some mindful exercise for ourselves. So one is first thing when you wake up in the morning, to set up your day the right way. It's a 5-minute tapping script. I talk you through, being in the present moment and all those good words that just came to me. That one is more directive, I would say. That's more follow what I say. Knowing that if any of the words actually activate your nervous system, it means we're digging into some stuff that you have to look at, right? Which is always what happens with tapping. You start naming good stuff, and all of a sudden your system goes, "Ooh, I don't want to look at being in the present moment." So that's the first one. The second one is orienting to the bedroom. So very similar to what we just did now. I guide you through walking into your bedroom, focusing on what creates the anxiety, and then focusing on the good resources in your bedroom. I think when I was doing it, my resource was, there's a teddy bear that my son left here when he went to university. and it's so soft and cuddly, and I have it in my bed. So sometimes I just like give it a hug. It just reminds me of the kids, and whatever resources, or maybe it was my blanket, because I always also have a blanket that I cuddle with. So that was one of my resources. So just helping people find what makes them comfortable in their bedroom. And the last one is really what you do in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're not able to go back to sleep. How would you use tapping in that instant to calm your nervous system enough to go back to sleep? So those are the 3 meditations they'll
I
receive.
love it. Thank you for offering that to people, because that's something that they can go and take action on right away, and it can help them this very day. So perfect.
And it's not the tool that will completely change their sleep, right? But it will introduce them to tapping, and it will introduce them to the thought that they can do something different and take action to improve their sleep. So it's like a beginner entryway tool for them.
And from there, it can just get better and better.
Better and better each day. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carol, for being here. You're a wealth of information for everybody, and I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye now.